So it's all for play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Aston Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast. We've been gone for a while. Took a little bit of an unannounced break over the international break, and I think probably the right thing to do, just to recharge the batteries. And I'll be honest, I was kind of looking for a reason to come back and do the podcast. And news just drops this morning about Morgan Rogers has signed a new 5.5-year contract with Aston Villa, and I think that's absolutely great news, Paddy. How have you been over the last week or so?
Yeah, not too bad. Busy and the usual, stressing and rushing and running and racing. So a break was probably needed by our players and probably by the likes of us. That we're going to have another busy few weeks ahead. So, but great news to come back to. Obviously, we all love Morgan Rogers and we love how he's grown since he's come in, and now to know that. Look, let's call a spade a spade. It was probably written into his contract that if he got an England cap, he got a new contract. And that's why we're hearing about it today. So, but look, best of luck to him and congratulations, obviously, to him and his family. A local lad, went through the West Brom Academy, and not sure he was a Villa fan. I think his dad was a Villa fan, all right. But I think he was at West Brom so early, he was probably a West Brom fan. But definitely comes from good stock. So delighted to see what, like, I think it's important to have young local lads involved in the first team, regardless of whether they're Villa fans or not, because they'll get it regardless of, as I said, their background. And it's brilliant. And if you look at that great Man City team, always had a young Mancunian in it. The great Liverpool teams always had young Liverpoolians in it, and that's just the way it goes.
Class of '92.
And, yeah, and all of those, the class of '92 were all local, a lot of local lads in that as well. So it'd be great to build something around the likes of him and Jaden and the other young lads that are coming through, and Jacob Ramsey, who's obviously more established. And it's just all around good news, isn't it?
It's absolutely brilliant news. Yeah, it's absolutely brilliant news. I agree, Paddy, there as well. The Hales on Rivaldo is somebody we really need to build our team around, as you say. I couldn't care less who supported as a youngster, but as you say, having that the Birmingham, I suppose, the locality, knowing how much it means to friends and family is absolutely huge. And I think what it is the more we hear of all these great players that have come through the West Brom Academy, and some of them have ended up at Villa, majority have ended up at Villa, but then you've got the Jude Bellinghams, the Joe Bellinghams and stuff like that end up at Blues. And I know it's difficult to kind of pry people away from family, I suppose, family attachments to clubs and stuff like that, but it always boggles my mind that that Villa's academy weren't able to snap these guys up, weren't able to offer them what was needed at the time to snap them up. But I couldn't care less as long as they get into the first team some way, shape or form. I think that's a positive, and this is certainly a positive for Morgan Rogers, because somebody who's been a real exciting player, somebody who's taken up the mantle of a Jack Grealish, that's left the club, being that person who can drive forward, get people off their seats, carry the ball, and is being recognised now at an English level is superb. And it just highlights what this football club means, I suppose, to the locality, but also means in the international football stage. We're the second highest producing England cap club of all time after Spurs. We were the highest for ages, and Spurs leapfrogged us when we were out of the Premier League, or just beforehand, I think. That's a huge thing to be able to say about our club, that we are a club that produces international quality players, or has players that get picked for the international team, the English international team, based on playing for Aston Villa. And I know that people will say, it took Grealish years to get into the English team, and some players haven't had their fair dues because they play for Aston Villa. That's also 100% fair. But the fact that Villa can put them in the spotlight, the likes of Darius Vassell, the likes of Agbonlahor, the likes of, you go back down through the years, Ugo Ehiog, all these players. I could name player after player after player, and they've gone on to play for England as well. And Morgan Rogers has been one of those while wearing the claret and blue of Aston Villa. And I think that's something that the club should be super, super proud of, and it should almost be a unique selling point, I think, when you're getting a player to choose Aston Villa maybe over one of the top 6 where they would be a bit part player. So I don't know.
Well, it does do that for sure. And if somebody is like you mentioned there in the past, we've probably neglected our not academy, because the academy probably from under 16s upwards. But I think that younger group, like I've spoken to people who have had kids at the Villa underage system at under 8, under 10, and have ended up at Blues, but they're Villa fans. This kind of thing back in the day. I'm not saying it's like that now. It's much better now, but we've neglected a generation there. So while we seem to be plucking an awful lot from West Brom recently, hopefully in the years to come we'll have learned the lessons from what's happened in the last few years, and having to pay that money out for the likes of Morgan, who could have came through our academy, the likes of Louis Barry, who ended up at Barcelona, and we paid $1 million to bring him back in there. So you'd have to think with the guys we have in charge of our academy now, it's enough to think that they won't be neglecting us as fans in the future, and we will see many more come through, and we will attract, from the greater West Midlands region, the best talent, because they're seeing Villa play. Obviously, we're eating at the top table of European football.
That's it.
After that, and we're obviously going to attract them as fans now as well. So there's a lot of play there. So all in all, absolutely delighted for Morgan Rogers. His 1 goal and 4 since he got here. His goal involvements have been absolutely brilliant. And Neil, I'm big into sports psychology and body language. He just looks like a young lad who has won the lottery and is enjoying every minute of being a Premier League footballer for Aston Villa. And that means a lot to me. And I think it should mean a lot to fans in general, to see someone come and really enjoy themselves. Because we see a generation now of footballers that can't seem to enjoy their football, that can't be to smile, that get criticised for laughing when they miss the challenge. But this guy is just playing with a smile on his face and really enjoying things.
And you know what? And sorry, I am listening in case anybody thinks I'm being incredibly ignorant here. I'm trying to keep this whole thing on the road at the moment, because I'm getting pop up after pop up after pop up here, just trying to monitor everything here. But I am listening. But one thing that strikes me, Paddy, is that you look at the picture of when he signed for Villa, and that's only less than a year ago, less than a calendar year ago, 11 months ago, he signed for Aston Villa. And look at his body composition. Very scrawny. Like, I look back at it and I saw somebody had a picture up of him when he signed. Very scrawny, looked younger. He's grown into his frame. Villa have put him on a schedule, on some sort of coaching plan that has got him bulked up. He's bulked up, like he looks like a more grown player. At the time when he signed, he looked like he had the propensity to put on that couple of extra pounds of muscle, and weight and power, and he's done that. And when you watch him, I think that really suits his game. And also, I think that must be put into context as well, is that there is an acclimatization period for the body, the natural biomechanics of the way that you run and everything like that. So a lot of times people have said, oh, he's a bit inconsistent this season, maybe his final ball is off, and that's fine. You can absolutely label those at him. But you can see the man has changed his body ever so slightly, and you can see that there is gains in his, in his physical build up as well, and that's going to take time then to matriculate into how he's going to actually be able to get back to his way. I know a lot of people will say it ruined Agbonlahor when he bulked up too much, but Agbonlahor was straight line pace runner. This guy isn't a straight line pace runner. This guy is a technician with the ball at his feet. He just happens to be able to glide away from players as well. So it's not an apples for apples comparison. So yeah, I think it's really exciting. Morgan Rogers is, do you know what, actually, Paddy? I'm going to just, like, at the time when we signed Morgan Rogers, there was a couple of people who thought that we weren't going to, that it was a a mistake from Aston Villa. And let's just remind ourselves of one of them. And this isn't me having a crack off these guys, but I think it's fair to say that, and I hope that you guys can hear this, but if you can't, let me, Paddy, if you can't hear it, let me know anyway. But you guys will remember this piece from the Second Tier podcast. I don't know if you can hear it.
I can't hear it.
You can't hear it. I don't know how to get it. Using Firefox because I can't bloody because the what you call it, the for whatever reason the streaming software doesn't work on Chrome, which I used to use, and it won't work on anything else other than blooming Firefox. So I don't know how to get that. But anyway, you guys will remember that the Second Tier podcast did have a piece up with this that was basically said that Middlesbrough had Aston Villa's pants down. I guess a sign of Morgan Rogers, and I think we can all say that ain't the case anymore. And the 8 million rising to 15 million, I presume it's going to reach 15 million at this stage with all the caveats that were put in.
Probably has already.
Probably has already. Even at 15 million, we're making double the money on him at least at the moment. So, fair play to Monchi and Unai Emery. And I do have a podcast coming out, I suppose, with who could Aston Villa try and pull, what rabbit could they pull out of the hat with regards to this? Because we won't be shopping at the top table in this January transfer window. That's been all but admitted. But who could Aston Villa maybe look at? And I've one name anyway in a transfer podcast that's coming up soon that I know people will fire lots of rotten tomatoes at me over. But I think it's a valid shout. Put it that way. Paddy, let's talk a small bit while we're here as well for another couple of minutes, because this won't be a long podcast, but let's talk a small bit about international break, how Villa players fared over the international break. Some mixed news. A couple of players picked up little niggles. Looks like they'll be okay, but we obviously have Amadou Onana now, who's going to be out for a couple of weeks. But chat to me about how you thought Villains got on over the international break.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit worrying, because I think at last count there was 8. Like, we went from 0 injuries to Matty Cash picking up one, and then you're going through the team. Powell has 1, Kamara has 1, Onana has 1, JJ has 1, Konza has 1. So it is a little bit worrying going into the weekend. I know you have plenty of cover on Maatsen, obviously I've forgotten as well, has 1. So we're reliably informed that Matty Cash and Ross Barkley could be back for the weekend. Probably not ideal to throw them straight back in there, but might be needs must if we're missing players. We obviously have Tyrone Mings if Pau Torres doesn't make it. There's backup in most places, but obviously I think this is a critical period for our season, in that it's also congested, that they're all going to start picking points off each other over the next couple of weeks, and we need to try and get points on the board. 3 points on the board, I think, is an absolute must this weekend, just to stop the Ross. Just to we know losing is a habit, so we need to break the habit, get back to winning ways, and push on. So that's why I think this game is vital. So I want to see everybody that we can possibly get on the pitch, playing and firing. So I'm hoping they're just little knocks. I'm hoping the likes of Maatsen and Tielemans were just a precaution, pull them out of international duty. They need a rest. Tielemans in particular could do with that rest for the couple of weeks. So fingers crossed we get it. The most important thing is we get 3 points, obviously. And then we've got a huge game coming up in Europe, and then we've got to play the likes of Chelsea in the coming weeks. So it's all to play for between now and Christmas, and I think it's going to be one of the most critical parts of the season for us.
Yeah, I'm led to believe, just from, I suppose, listening and seeing what other people have said, that the Pau Torres one shouldn't be an issue. I don't know anything about the Maatsen one. I know Maatsen is injured, but I didn't even hear what his injury was. Also, I saw people writing on Twitter and on Blue Sky that Kamara's injured. I can't find anywhere that Kamara got injured.
Well, Kamara was held back from going with the France squad, so he's obviously carrying something.
No,
unless they put their heads together and went, look, is Kamara going to play? And Deschamps said probably not.
Yeah,
and he said, look, let's have a gentleman's agreement and let him have his rest and let us get him back to full fitness, and you'll have him fit and firing come next March when the qualifier starts. So
yeah, and I think it was probably along the same lines as the Tielemans piece. You know, they kind of said, look, it's been Nations League stuff. It's not the end of the world if he doesn't go here. The player's just back from a cruciate ligament injury. Let's see what the story. Let's see what the story is like here. I wouldn't be too concerned about that. At all. Just like I wouldn't be too concerned about the Tielemans piece. Probably just one of these things where by our sports scientists.
I know this seems to be the word that Unai uses, a small injury. We have had small injuries that went to 8 to 10 weeks, but you know, you'd have to figure that it is just a knock that was picked up somewhere. I think JJ was probably a little bit more serious than Kamara's, judging by the reaction. But look, we'll have a better idea Friday, I would imagine, of where we're at when the guys get to sit down and ask hopefully all the right questions to Unai Emery, so we can find out exactly who we have for the weekend.
Yeah. Either way, I'm going to be honest. I think we're at the stage now in Aston Villa Football Club, qualifying for the Champions League, that we got to find a way to win these games against Palace. And I don't like saying the likes of Palace, because that comes across as being very kind of arrogant. But you know what I mean. We're on a run that we don't want to be on. We've lost to Palace already in this run. Very, very poor game we played with a team that we made some changes in. I'm not buying the making changes as being an issue piece. I think that this team is getting to the stage where they're fully formed. Unai's been here long enough. They've all been playing under him. That if we started Lamar Bogard in defensive midfield, if we start him right back, that yes, we can say that he's not going to be Boubacar Kamara, or he's not going to be Amadou Onana, but I still think the team should be able to cover for him when needed. And I'm not just picking him out because they're saying him previously, but I'm kind of there at the moment that if we make one change to the team, or if we make two changes to the team, it shouldn't be an excuse as to why we shouldn't win. That's kind of where I am, and that's not being arrogant. That's my optimism.
I know you seem to we both do seem to preface all these things with I'm not being arrogant, but the bottom line is we're a Champions League team. We're supposed to be fighting at the top of the league. We shouldn't be dropping points either away to Ipswich or home to Man United, but we did, and we shouldn't be dropping points this weekend. And that is the opinion that a neutral will give you on this game at the weekend. It's not us being arrogant. And it actually hurts me that I have to preface those things, because we've had teams calling us bullshit and being a banter club for the last fucking 10 years. So it's refreshing that we're in a position to be stronger than most, but obviously no God-given right to go and win games. So you're right to preface it, but it is a little bit, I find it a little bit annoying and a little bit cringing, because nobody gave a shit about us when we were poor. So we should give a shit about Palace when they're going through a poor period. Look, they're a good side. They handed us our arse at the end of last season. I know we were on the beach at that stage, and we just qualified for the Champions League. And look, we surely be back with a preview of that game over the next couple of days. But
back on Thursday or Friday.
Definitely one I feel that we have to win.
Yeah, for sure. This isn't going to be a very long one. I just want to say thanks so much to Martin McKeever, became a YouTube member. Thank you so much for that, Martin. Really, really appreciate it. If anybody else wants to become a YouTube member, I think it's $1.99. I think it is. But yeah, helps us keep the lights on here at the podcast. And also Paul O'Neill, who says big window for Watkins, Dino, Rogers and McGinn. And I presume that window means this window of opportunity for the club to climb the table, or climb back to where they should be in the table with all these games coming. But absolutely. And, one player we didn't talk about there. And also, Paul, thanks a million for being a member for 10 months as well. I really appreciate that. One thing we didn't talk about was that Luca Dean has turned into prime Roberto Carlos and is the best left back in the world at the moment, as proved over this international break. So that's definitely something that we can hang our hat on. I know there was a question in there about Dina Matson inside there as well. Yeah, why not? If we need to have pace and we need to stretch teams on the wings and we want to continue to play Morgan Rogers essentially while JJ is out, well then yeah, why not put Matson there and let him fill his guts running up and down that wing and try and cut in across? Why not? We did it with Moreno before. We've done it with Matty Cash on the other side. As I say, if they want to roll out, I don't know, if they want to put Monchi in left wing and it works and it helps us win games and it creates a stability within the team, I genuinely, like, the team is more important and the setup of the team is more important than individual players being in it at any given time. It always will be the case. You know, if something works, then absolutely go for it, 100%. But just because we try certain things doesn't mean that it's and that's something that we've learned to temper, I suppose, over the years with our team sheet tantrum. Is something new is not always something to be scared of. And I think we might see some new things as if these injuries are true and we don't have we have to shuffle the deck like we have done in the past. Anyway, we'll talk all about that on Thursday or Friday. And we'll see you again for another podcast. But yeah, great to be back on the horse again with podcasting.
I know everybody wants to hear what I have to say about David Coote. We'll do that because that's going to take a little bit of time, and I might surprise people with my opinion on that one. But we'll address that in the preview.
Absolutely, yeah. We might even do a full podcast now because there's lots of stuff coming out. There's lots of lies and there's lots of conjecture as well coming out as well. There seems to be like, hey. Yeah, we'll get to it. We want to know what's real and what isn't real first, I suppose. But cool. Right, so guys, thanks a million. Paul Miller, again as well. Thanks, lads. Really appreciate the content. Thank you for being a member for 9 months as well, Paul. And thanks to absolutely everybody who watches this podcast. Real quick one here, just on my coffee break. We'll see you again later, guys. Thanks a million. Stay safe, stay healthy, and all that's left to say is up the villa.
Up the villa.